Hi.
Good morning. Yo, okay.
It's the conversation that goes behind, like you guys don't get to see, but
the show already began.
The show already began. Kitambo sada. But it's so good to see you on this amazing Tuesday. How is your week going on? It feels like a Monday, no?
It does. Well, technically it's a Monday.
Well, ukiangalia vizuri the Monday. Yeah. But I hope you guys rested. I hope you are okay. Thank you so much for making the time. The show is Your World. My name is Winnie Lubambe.
And I am Wkaira Mary. We have an amazing show lined up for you. Let me tell you.
What are we doing today?
We're talking about something that when you look at it from different angles, everybody has a different thing to say about it. There's some who look, we're talking about divorce. Let me just put it out there. We're talking about divorce happened to your Tuko. And from a different angle, some will look at it at the end of, dreams they had. Others will look at it as, finally I can fly, break free, And, from different angles, we're looking at this conversation and wondering where your stand is at. Does it look like the end of an era for you, as a failure for you, or does it look like, growth, a beginning, all of that. That is
I've seen people actually throw parties, divorce parties.
Yes.
Like nobody's business. And and most of them say it's not a time to cry and mourn about, whatever has happened, but it's actually a time because they are breaking free. So you wonder, Sister Kondi, what was happening before, in that marriage and in that. And I know they say there's no marriage that is perfect, but at the same time, by the time you get to that level where I'm saying, you know what, enough is enough, I am out, right? Is it like beyond repair, irreconcilable differences? Okay, and what does that process look like? And that is what we are highlighting today on the show, and that is we are rethinking divorce, okay? And we're asking, is it a failure or a new beginning as far as growth, is concerned? And even at that, we have a very simple question for you. Okay, we always love questions. We really do.
Yes,
okay,
we do.
So the question goes, what defines a successful relationship? Is it longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? According to you, what defines successful relationship? Is it the longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? And you know the drill by now, we're live, okay? Just in case, Masakha, we're live. So that means you can call in and contribute towards the discussion, or send in your feedback, ask any question that you have, or if you have a story to share, then feel free to do so. Our lines are officially open, and also engage with us on our socials, and that is at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X and everywhere else, and tag us at, let me start with yours today.
Yes,
at
please.
least Wkaira Mary and at Lubembe_Winnie, because she said last time that I said it's Lubembe.
Like, did I? She said, hi, it's Lubembe. I was like, okay, it's contagious. It's fine.
It's the energy. It's the energy. Yes. So we look forward to hear what you guys have to say. But we're not alone in studio. We have our lovely panel, and we have one more who is almost here. She's almost here. Almost. Hivi tu kidogo atakuwa amefika. So on my immediate left.
Do it.
Left.
Yes,
okay.
you got it.
We have Bishop Grace Dalizu, who is a marriage counselor. Bishop, hi.
Hi.
I have not seen you forever.
You said it's a Monday.
I mean, it feels like
be
a Monday.
when it's Monday. I hear of Monday blues.
Monday blues. Monday blues.
Okay.
You look fantastic. You look lovely. Hey, you look very nice. You look really nice.
I'm sure the person who did it will be so happy.
Cynthia,
because I was telling them otherwise.
Oh yeah?
No,
you look very nice.
20 years.
No. Imecheza na negative.
Negative 20. Negative 20. And we also have Ian Mwangi, who is a family lawyer, joining us this morning. Hi, Ian. How are you doing?
I'm glad to be back.
Karibu. Yeah,
you also look dapper. Tunaanza Tuesday vizuri. So
this is our court regalia.
Oh, really?
This is your everyday.
Ile nini?
The wig.
Yeah. You Masakha, lakini
Probably
Masakha.
next time I should come.
At least. You're full gear.
It's like I'm here to represent fully.
Yeah, mtu akitaka consultation.
Yes.
Ako ready na gear next week. I'm the other time that he's here. We're also expecting Nangami Masakha, who is a self-mastery coach. She's on her way up here in studio. So yes, I can hear her speaking.
I actually can hear her.
I can hear her. Yeah. I can hear her speaking. But yeah, so she'll be joining us in just a second. But again, don't forget the question, like I said, that we're asking you today is that what defines a successful relationship? Is it the longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? You know, I was thinking about this morning. Yeah?
Yes.
Is there such thing as parting ways na amani?
Na amani, even that question by itself, I'm just like,
Yeah.
are those the only two options?
Right? Like,
Because
is there such thing? Because it's hard.
It is hard, but I've seen probably not marriages, but I think maybe later there's a peace and dignity. But at the point where we are at wakilis, we're not even talking to each other.
Like, talk to my lawyer.
Talk to my lawyer.
Talk to my lawyer.
We can't have a civil conversation.
Yeah, but again, we'll unpack all that, during the conversation, because I know it's a very difficult conversation.
Yeah.
But hey, we have the best person to discuss
I think we have a very powerful panel
we
today.
Really have,
and there's also the traditional bit of things, because we're very modern now. We're looking at things then you come as a skin natoka too. But then there are also values of places where we've come from, how we've been brought up, kanisa inasema nini, kijiji yetu inasema aje, because if you go back, we're like, alishindwa na ndoa, that is a failure.
Yeah, there's always the negative aspect to it, like uyo alishindwa,
ilimshinda.
But sometimes that doesn't even ilishindwa, labda life.
Also, the role of gender, because kuna venye saa zingine wini akina sisi ndio tunakanga tulishindwa kushikilia.
Do you know what statistics say? Let me tell you, I was Googling this morning, speaking of the gender. So in Kenya, right here, and Wakili will tell us if this is the truth or not, okay?
Yeah.
So they were saying divorce, separation, again, it tends to increase with age, okay? So for instance, in 2022, 2.8% of women aged 45 to 49 were divorced, compared to 0.5% among those aged 20 to 24. Women aged 35 to 39 have the highest rates of separation at 5.2%, with divorce rates rising from 1.1% among those aged 25 to 29 to 2.2% in the 45 to 49 age bracket. Sasa sijui sisi
nilikuwa nimeanza catch feelings. I was feeling judged for a bit, but then I remembered I am not yet married. That means nimevuka. Your statistic if by any chance I get into marriage, I will be safe.
Wakili will tell us, what, okay? But before we say hi to Nangami, because he's in studio, okay?
She's in studio, yeah.
Bishop, can we just go back to understand marriage?
Yeah.
The institution of marriage, and how has it even changed over time? Ukiangalia since, God said, a man shall live and cleave.
And cleave, yes. And why the importance of that, Nini tunatafuta huko.
I'm very happy to see you, Winnie and Wkaira. You're such a vibe to this morning. Yeah, I don't know what you took. I want to advise you to keep taking that before you come to the studio.
Chai.
I want to say from the biblical perspective is that marriage is an institution that should be honored, because it's a covenant between two people to stay together until death does them part.
Okay.
And that's what we have always looked at, and that's what we counsel people about and train people to do. But that does not always become the norm. You realize that halfway the time somebody comes and says, no, I can't keep up with that, and I have to go, and they give reasons. And I want to say today that as a church, we are now accommodating.
Okay.
The reasons that are brought. It's not like long time we would say no is a sin for you even to think of leaving your marriage or breaking away from your marriage or even the word divorce. It was not there in church. But now it's no longer like that. We are advocating for that. I want to say marriage first and foremost is a good thing. Very good thing, because there's what God planned for it and desired for it from the foundations of time, whereby a man was found to be lonely. And God gave him a companion in the name of a woman who is a helper. And for me, who is almost getting to almost 30 years, 3 decades of marriage, I've realized as much as there are challenges, the moment it works for you, you get to enjoy it. And it becomes a very healthy environment, not only for yourself and him, but the children that you know, get out of the offsprings of that marriage, neighbors, friends, and family. They look up to you. But as life would have it, it's no longer the same. People are breaking more than they are holding. And when we look at it, we wonder what is happening. But what I can say is that people have become more liberated. They are no longer held by, you know, the traditions that were there. Even the biblical part of it, because we realize that you can stay in a marriage that is so toxic that you end up losing your life, losing yourself, the children being affected. So we are looking for the best scenario to advise the couple when they come. And I'm happy so we are not rigid.
Yes, and I'm happy that you're saying, listen, now we're accommodating, because back then
it wasn't the word conversation.
Divorce was no.
You are even excommunicated from church. The moment you mention it, or you are not getting along, the first thing that would happen, you are excommunicated from Holy Communion, the position you are holding, you are told to stay at home.
That's true. And even when people come to and they have issues and you need them to be apart. Then the one thing that the church probably has done over the years is insist. Rudianeni to like whatever it is. Please, like our work is to bring you together.
That is the first line of treatment. That is the first line of treatment. But once you listen now, I thank God, because the pastors are becoming now more open-minded, and we listen not only with our ears, even with our hearts. You get to see what that person is saying. You know, psychologically, because they may be saying A, but it is deeper than what they're saying. So we are now taking time, and we thank God for School of Theology, because we do some psychology, and it has helped us, and counseling.
I really like that. I really like that. We have Nangami in the building. Hi. How are you? How you doing? Fashionably late. Yeah, but you look good. You really, really look good. It's so good to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you too. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Have you been, girls?
Good.
We've been great.
Yeah, it has been a time. It has been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Yeah. But we're happy that you're here.
It's always
to engage your marriage.
This is home.
That divorce. The company growth and liberation. And you know all those things. I know you're very strong on self-awareness and understanding self, and go deeper into the core and understanding who you are. We'll come back to you to understand, before you even think about getting into a serious relationship and getting into a marriage, what is it that you need to learn about self and the other person, and you know, all those things, so that we avoid cases of divorce, you know, that we're talking about, or separation. But before that, Wakili, the Constitution. What does it say about marriage? What does it recognize as marriage? You know?
Legally. We are doing so many things,
because divorce is such a legal process.
It is.
So can we understand marriage legally?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like actually to go on from where Bishop has stopped. Because the law is not just the Constitution. And so divorce is as old as marriage. In the sense that the first time I actually went to, I knew Bishop was here, so I went and... Yes, I wanted to see what the Bible also actually says about divorce. And I found like it was first dealt by Moses, what we call the law of Moses in Deuteronomy 24. And he said that in the first 4 verses, he said that a man can divorce his wife for a cause. So he did not give reasons like what is that cause you can divorce your wife for, but you can see how long that was. And then now Jesus came, he actually dealt with the question himself, And you can actually check, your viewers can check this.
Research has been done here.
Yes, it's in Matthew 19.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, you can. Yeah, and so Jesus was saying that the reason why Moses considered to this was because your hearts were hardened, but you can divorce because of adultery, what you call infidelity.
Yeah.
And he said that if you marry a divorced woman who was divorced for something other than adultery, you are committing adultery yourself.
Interesting.
Then after Jesus came Paul. Now Paul, he said that he brought now another concept. He said that let's say you are married to an unbeliever, and then unbeliever leaves you. You should let them go. Actually, the phrasing is let them go.
Let them go. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I saw here is, so Moses, we see you can divorce for a cause,
Yeah.
and then Jesus for adultery.
Yes.
And then for Paul, it's known as desertion. Like your spouse has deserted you.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that those are still grounds of divorce in our Kenyan.
Yes.
In our Kenyan system.
Yeah.
And then now we come to the Marriage Act. Well, usually the Constitution just says that the family is the basic unit of society. This is problematic because what the Constitution basically intends is that we should try as much as possible to maintain these
units.
Yes, these units.
Yeah.
Then now we have the Marriage Act. So the Marriage Act has grounds for divorce, which is now the three which I've told you. That is adultery.
Yes.
And the problem with adultery is that we really don't know what. You can't say conclusively this is adultery.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's the physical act, sometimes it's also emotional aspect.
Okay.
And then now we have desertion. That's where your spouse has deserted you.
Yeah.
We have your spouse has been imprisoned for about 7 years or more. So yes, that's a ground for.
Yeah. We're all like, okay.
We'll all judge you. Who was left, you're divorcing him while he's inside. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But just
7 years.
think about it hypothetically. Your spouse has been imprisoned for he or she committed a felony,
Yeah.
and has been imprisoned for about 30 years. So, in as much as you want to maintain this one, for sure, it's not not plausible that the marriage will go on.
Yeah.
And then we have irretrievable marital breakdown. So there's some evidence you need to show that the marriage has irretrievably broken down.
Okay.
Yes, among others.
All right, so this is the causes for divorce in the country.
Yes.
But we'll come back to understand. So then what does the law recognize as marriage, legally?
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll come back to that. We need to go on a break. Nangami, tukirudi from break.
Tunaanza na wewe.
What's up with you? But really, on the question that we are asking you today is what defines a successful relationship? Is it the longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? Like we said, engage with us on our socials. Give us a call. We are live, or better yet, use our WhatsApp number 0112 500 400. We'll be looking at your feedback after the break. Do stay with us. Ndo tumeanza kuchimba. Okay, so there's so much to discuss on the other side. Do stay with us. We'll see you shortly.
Welcome back to Your World. This Tuesday, we are talking about divorce, and we're looking at it as, do you see it as a failure, or do you see it as, it's freedom. I'm getting out of this and starting afresh. It is growth for me. How do you look at it? And we're asking you a question today. What defines a successful relationship? Is it longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? What defines a successful relationship? Longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? Please indulge us on our question of the day today via a phone call, or you can WhatsApp us or even jibu us on all our social media platforms. It's NTV Kenya. Kila mahali.
Absolutely. Nangami, so during the break, as well, like, hey,
we're traumatized. I don't think we're the same.
So, self. Okay, because by the time people get into a relationship and then eventually into marriage, there's the self aspect, right? And then these two become one. Yeah, Bishop will tell us, become one. Bishop, now I remember the rib story. But so self, what is it that we need to really be aware of as far as self is concerned, like this self and the other self, so that by the time we come together, we become one whole, complete, healed selves.
Idea.
Yeah.
In fact, I love the last bit of the question, which is healed, the healed part of yourself, because I think sometimes, you see, over time, marriage has been like a rite of passage. So it's just something you go through. It's not something that you really, you're 25, you're 30, you have to get married. It doesn't matter whether psychologically you're okay, mentally, financially you're stable. It doesn't matter. You're just right for the institution, and you have to get in there. And I think that's what is leading to perhaps even most of the divorces, because then expectations are so high, people have not worked on themselves, and sometimes you have these issues where people are expecting a lot from the other when they haven't done much on themselves. So then it becomes some sort of a fight. So that is why self-mastery usually is very important to understand. In fact, it's just understanding the institution itself, so that by the time you're making the decision to go in, you are really certain that it's something that you want to make. Which is something that I would tie up to, like, this conversation about child-free. Is someone sitting and realizing, I don't have the instincts, I don't have the motherly instincts, I am not ready to parent a child, so they would rather not be a parent than be a parent and be a bad one. And so even for marriage, usually it is like, so don't get into it and then go and cause more harm and damage. You know, you have a child, or you have children, you have a family, you have a wife, you have a husband, and it just becomes a ripple effect of dysfunction after dysfunction. I've seen, I handled so many such scenarios, to the extent where you see someone was married and then 6 months later, it disintegrated. And when you begin to look at it, you realize that there was not much work done. It was just an excitement. It was a phase. And then especially for ladies, it was like, oh my goodness, he makes me happy, the butterflies.
The ring. The ring. Yeah, I got the ring.
Then, then the ring. And then I think the excitement about it. But everything has to go in play, because, you know, we're in 2025. And I like the fact that Bishop and even Wakili here talked about, you know, scriptures and the Bible. But we're living in times where there are so many people who are not religious. So there are so many people who may not subscribe to, you know, Jesus Christ, or so they may not be aware of perhaps what they're saying. And there's now people are getting married, Christian, Muslim, African spirituality, Rastafarian. So it's, you see, it's a whole mix of things, and so it requires a lot of work. It's no longer now something that is just plastered, cast in stone. This is what you're supposed to do. We have, both of you have come together, and you have to figure how this thing works.
Does that then affect the sanctity of the institution itself? Because now, so there's what we're guided by, you know, from the good books, and now we're more liberated. Even Bishop said, well, we're liberated. You know. So does that then affect how people see and approach the whole institution of marriage?
It does, because you see nowadays, you see with the advent of books, social media, we are coming into access to information that we didn't have. And right now, marriage is more of a social contract or construct than a religious one or a spiritual one. So right now, it's not about, you see, back in the day, it was very religious, God has ordained. And then now, most of the time, people are like, if God had been ordaining these things, then there wouldn't be high rates of divorce. Then what is it? It's just a social construct, and it depends on the people in the society who are going to come together and make it work. So it is affecting the sanctity. It's no longer as sacred as it used to be.
Because if I'm going to look at it as we like each other and we're going to do this, and we don't need, probably we can just hire someone. And I've seen marriages where it's not even a pastor who's doing the, you know, and growing up, that is the only person who is allowed in my world. Hakuna mtu mwingine anaweza fanya hiyo kitu, you know.
People are doing it in Vegas.
Yes, I'm doing it like random human being. You've gotten a certificate. I am, the law has, you know, and it's happening. So then that opens up the door for divorce being on the rise as well, because I'm in it to just have, when the good time is done, then I'm gone. Then I'm gone. I'm not held by this.
There's nothing to hold you
accountable really, other than my feelings for you. And if that's done, then that's it.
Atupendani tena, feelings zime deep and whatnot. But now, so Bishop, recognizing what Nangami is saying. So then, where does that leave the hopeful romantics they're still hopeless. The hopefuls who are like, oh, I want to get into these and because we were having a discussion again some time back, and a conversation came up where young people now are like, I don't want to get married because based on things that I see, right? Yeah. So in the next few years, where do you see this very beautiful institution called marriage?
I want to say something. She has said something very fundamental. Yeah. That with the exposure that is there right now, people have the free will to decide. There's no longer that judgment that was there before, that you're now 40 and you're not married. People give you the space because they don't know the reason why you are up to 40 and you have not settled. Because more often than not, maybe you looked at the institution of marriage and you felt, no, this is not for me. I may get into it and immediately leave. I was looking at a story where somebody got married and the next morning she was not there. Wow. Because there was cheating. The man cheated, went to sleep elsewhere with a bridal, you know,
the bachelor party.
Not even the bachelor. Now it's after the vows.
This is after
the vows have been exchanged now.
Wait, on the wedding night.
Wedding night. The guy went out and came at around 3 or 4, and that made the lady just leave. Long time that would not really happen because sometimes people would come together and say, no, forgive him, you don't know why, and you don't know why. The exposure has done us good, but also a lot of danger. Because now, when you get into a relationship and you want to get married to somebody, before you make that decision, you have to be sure that this person that you are getting into a relationship with, and including yourself, you are ready. Why am I saying that? Before, when people would be, you know, planning to get married, even if you disagreed, you'd make up, because the man had not many choices and the lady had not many choices as well. But right now with social media, you break up, now kesho unaoga, so there is no desperation anymore. Before, you'd wonder, now what do I do? This has to work. You know, prayer is made. People are, you know, brought to talk to you too. You send the friends, and that would happen. But right now, we are in a very dangerous zone, so to speak. Because once you disagree, the person says, I've been chasing you for 2 months, 3 months, I'll not do it again. There's somebody else on the side that I can look for. Because social media has brought everybody together. The world is together. And there are those who are searching, and those who have been broken, and those who are doing what. So the market is big,
it's flooded.
But tena imechafuka. Kweli, imechafuka.
Because in a couple of years, I don't think this conversation will be as trivial as it is right now. It won't be there. It won't
right now, somebody will be chasing with Kali. Day, night, you find him out there at your house. That does not happen anymore.
With you, there was this conversation about relationships now and chasing, and this guy was like, listen, squeeze your tuna patience.
Atuna patience. Like, just say yes or no. And I'm just and then
and we're like,
then what do you mean?
What happened to
say yes or no, or I go.
Either you say yes or you have another Mwikali somewhere.
They don't even sustain a conversation.
No
longer. You have to be in it. And you have to also be there. You know, before, the tradition that we have is that the man is the hunter. Not the other way around. But now they want to be hunted.
They want to be
you know. So I want to say there is a lot of freedom now. You decide. If you decide to stay, just like she mentioned, she's called Nangami. Yeah, that was wonderful. That you can even choose to be child-free. The way we had that discussion some other time. You can decide whatever, and people will respect it. Sometimes it's up to you to know, in the later years, will I be lonely, or I just get a partner? And I think that happened with one lady called Oprah. And I respected it. When they were about to get married with Stedman, they realized they will not have the same quality of relationship, and they decided to stay apart. So there's no judgment anymore, but it would be good to have children through that marriage setup, institution, so that the children have an identity. But again, we are seeing single mothers that are very strong, and fathers that are co-parenting in a very proper way.
Yeah.
So there is no white and black now.
Yeah. There
You
isn't.
choose. You choose.
Really, there isn't.
Yeah.
I think in a couple of years, the conversation will be, how are you guys doing it in that marriage?
Yes.
Tell us, you have been together for 5 years. I know. It's like 5 years, guys. You know?
And doing different that we should learn
exactly.
from. Oh my days.
You
other contract thing.
The other contract
Yeah,
thing. And I
so
think
let's
that
sign a
leads to the
contract with
question
both. Yeah.
where you had asked to Akili earlier.
Yeah.
What is a legal marriage?
Now in 2025.
In 2025.
Forget uko kitambo.
Yeah,
In
what
2025.
is defined as legal married?
No, here's the interesting part. Marriage is not just a legal concept.
Okay.
It's also, in Kenya, it's also a religious concept.
Yes.
It's a cultural.
Yes.
And also a cultural concept. But the simple definition is the union of two people to the exclusion of everyone else.
Okay.
You get it?
Yes.
Even in polygamous, you are basically, unless in a polygamous where it's a union of two people, but there are other parties to the...
Who are still united, quote unquote, yeah.
Or number two, I can also say that marriage is given to people who have, at the attorney general, to people, what they are given is something called a marriage certificate. So anyone who has a marriage certificate, we can say that they are legally married. The reason why this is important is because if you have not really registered your marriage, you might be thinking that you're married, but you actually ain't.
Not married.
Yes.
Culture. You tulienda tunashio.
Na ilikuwa hadi na chief, member of parliament, hata ule nani judge ule alikuwa
aliona ni certificate,
hata wakili alikuwa ni certificate. Ndio hii video wakili. I am still not married.
You need to you will be put to task to prove that marriage existed.
Yeah.
There is a leeway to it, but
Okay.
And I think we spoke this last time, and I told you that you might be in fact married, but by law
you are not.
You are not.
Yeah.
There's something you asked Bishop. I'd like to chip in.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
It's not a legal question, but
It's fine. It's fine.
yes. But I came to realize you asking about the continuation of marriage.
Marriage, yes, in the next few years.
Yes, in probably in 10 years, what you're going to be thinking about. And it's we usually told there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to say that marriage it's like playing a lottery.
Okay.
This is what my practice has made me see, because sometimes I help a couple to register their marriage, and 5 minutes later I'm seeing someone who wants to dissolve theirs. So I came to realize that marriage is like a lottery where it's very hard to win, but when you win you are getting something really good. Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying that for the hopeless romantic.
For the hopeless romantic.
I think that I'm just like that. You know, I'm not so sure if it's encouraging or not. I'm just like. Lottery, you know, the house always wins.
You work hard, you keep trying until you win.
But that one person who wins.
That one.
Yes, and sometimes also see that I think one of the biggest steps you can take in life, the biggest step of faith you can take in life is actually marriage.
Yeah.
Because you are...
Is it just marriage or love? Because now I'm looking at it at a bigger
I'm saying marriage
picture.
because marriage has legal implications.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Hey,
okay, that's fair.
You can love
that's
from a
fair.
distance.
Hey, you can love from a distance.
So the reason I say it's one of the biggest step of faith, it's because you're basically saying that I'm basically saying that my future self will love your future self, which is a hard thing to.
Yeah.
Your future self. I trust my future self to still love
your future self. I think this is one of the questions that we should be asking ourselves to end a date. Do you think your future
But nobody can answer that.
will love my future? No, sister, you
cannot be answered.
You said it's a lottery.
You cannot answer that.
You don't even know if I like you tomorrow.
Faith. I'm faith.
Okay, yeah,
faith. Could have faith. Now, so it's very easy now for people to, again, like Mick said, you get into a relationship, marriage, and then if it doesn't work, listen, goodbye.
Yeah.
You know, like it's very easy now for people to just say goodbye, I am out, speak to my lawyer, okay? But what is it that people need to understand about the divorce process, the separation process, so that by the time unaambia mwenzako adios, goodbye,
enjoy meisha.
You know, the legal
sometimes you look at
aspect
it, just the legal aspect, but I think I just want to throw it the same question to all of them, because there's the spiritual things of bit of things, there's a social bit of things. Yani kuna pesa, finance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not just legal.
Yeah.
Yes, you've said that right now it's easier, and I agree. But I'll tell you, I also think it could actually be easier than it is.
Okay.
I was looking at this.
It could be?
It could be easier than how it is.
Interesting.
Here's the reason. Right now, Kenya has one of the lowest divorce rates in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
If I was to compare actually to the Western world, we are probably not divorcing enough.
We're not divorcing enough.
I was looking at the US, where if I was to round off, like 50% of first marriages fail, and 75% of second marriages fail.
Yeah.
Meaning it actually gets worse as you are divorcing.
So J-Lo is a pure statistic. Jennifer Lopez.
She's a hopeful romantic. That's a
statistic as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and I'll tell you why probably we are different from the US.
Yeah.
It's because Kenya, it's a fault-based system. There are two schools of thought.
Okay.
The first one is that marriage is a very private thing. The government should not interfere.
Okay. Yeah, there's that. Okay. Yeah.
The second one, in which Kenya follows, is that the family is a very important unit of the society, and it must be protected at all costs.
Okay.
So here in Kenya, it's fault-based. For you to end the divorce, that's why you have to go to court and establish that this person had fault.
Okay.
But for some countries, you find that there are some countries which have adopted the no fault based. I'm just tired with you, I go and register the divorce. The same way I register the marriage.
Yeah, it's the same way you register the divorce.
I unilaterally end it. And that's actually now the wave of reforms which is happening in countries. I think it's happened in Cameroon and Botswana. And now, if it was in Kenya, I believe that the divorce rates would have been higher.
Yeah.
Now about so that's a legal barrier to divorce.
Yeah. Okay.
The second thing is the cost. One of the barriers. Affording an advocate to initiate a divorce might be quite costly.
It's too costly.
In our need today, in our society today, and that's why I think that you find that there are more divorces in the urban areas than in the rural. There are more divorces in Nairobi than in somewhere like Marsabit.
Okay. Okay.
And in my opinion, I think you'll find that the Marsabit, they need it more because probably of domestic violence. Statistics show that it's higher also in the rural areas.
Yeah.
And then on the process itself, you find it might be hectic.
It's a bit complex.
It might also be traumatizing, whereby you are seeing that someone you had a shared dream, and it's. I see people breaking down on the last day of.
I mean, it's difficult. You loved this person. You know, mapenzi tulipendana. Then all of a sudden, it's like.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So no, you asked about the process. What happens is that we usually file documents, and then we usually put the ground which we are relying on.
Okay.
If it's adultery, we explain how it happened. If it's a desertion, you say why you want the marriage to end.
Okay.
And then the other party will be allowed, the person, your spouse, will be allowed to respond.
Okay.
So they will say probably, what I find interesting is that sometimes you serve them, and then they come and say that, yes, there is adultery, but the adultery is from their end.
Not from the person that is.
Yes. Okay. I usually find that irrelevant because it won't stop now the
process.
Yeah,
yes.
it would.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd rather even not just respond if you're okay with the divorce going on. And then now after that, the two spouses will be allowed to testify in court. And it's also it's a rigorous process because the other party will cross-examine you. There'll be that. And that's why you find that in family courts, it's one of the courts which is not really open to the public.
Yeah.
Right now you can go to a criminal proceedings and be allowed to attend, but for family, they usually chase everyone else out because there are children involved. Yeah. The family is also there.
The sensitivity of the matters discussed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now later on, you are given the judgment.
Okay.
After the judgment, usually given there are two stages. Usually given something called a decree nisi.
Okay.
And then 30 days later, you're given a decree absolute.
Okay.
And do you know why?
Why?
It's because there are some people who have gotten together after the decree nisi was given.
Tunasameheana after that process.
Yeah. We see funny things.
So we've probably gone through this process for like a year.
Yeah.
Even two.
Or two.
Yes.
Yeah. And then this 30 days.
Yes. You realize?
Hopeless, somebody hopeful. And so, just to clarify.
Yes.
I can't just be like, I don't like him anymore. Like, I don't feel him.
My heart is not there.
Yeah, like, you know, I just need peace of mind. I found love elsewhere and I want this to end.
And then that's it. Like, that's enough.
You need to establish fault. That's the point.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then cross-examination, and then...
You actually...
I think that is very limiting, Wakili. That one of fault-finding in Kenya is very limiting because you can grow out of love. And you feel like, this person has not wronged me. Not even getting annoyed. You feel like you cannot be with them again. You have outgrown them totally. And you feel nothing about them. And I think it's a dangerous place to be.
It is very dangerous.
Very dangerous to be because love is what glues you. But now, what it means, then other things will glue you together. The law, the children, but you yourself, you're not there. Then that will encourage cheating.
A lot of adultery.
Yeah, because even if it's not cheating in the sense of having another man, emotionally you're cheating. You're not there.
You're not there.
You are not for them. Because marriage is it comes as a baggage.
But isn't this what you were talking about earlier, how the law sort of like protects families? So it makes the process a bit complicated.
Yes, they put some hardness to
a lot of barriers.
Yes.
But that whole aspect of going through the battle for like 2 years and then 30 days.
30 days. Good.
Because at that time children are praying, parents are praying,
the family is
praying. So it's a time to testify. And you go to Wakili and say, we have a testimony.
But those cases are few though.
No, actually let me give you two scenarios.
Okay.
No, in Kikuyu culture, when you divorce, usually take back
the dowry.
The lady returns the dowry.
Yes.
And then there's a ritual.
Who returns the dowry?
The lady.
The lady.
But why?
The one which was paid.
Si tumewachana. Rudisha mali.
Rudisha.
Okay. And so this lady divorced, and then she returned the dowry. And then on that day of returning the dowry, you usually do the reverse of what you did on the Rurasho. So you see on the day of the bridal price, you are taking alcohol. So on this day of returning, you're even taking and spitting it out. It's like the one which you are talking.
Oh my God.
So you just imagine after doing all that, men have come, they spit out. And then like 3 months later, the lady got pregnant.
What is happening out here?
Yeah, love is a strange thing.
It really is. It really is. But now that begs the question, then see we just look for ways to...
Another one.
Reconcile, no?
You represent a client, and on the hearing day, they come with matching vitenges.
Oh, come on. Come on. We don't have to show up in court. We can just send our lawyers.
We just tell you, sisi tumeelewana, hii ni mambo ya dunia.
That's what the country wants. That's what the state wants.
The church means protect.
For us,
protect the
matching vitenges, then we know there is intervention.
But isn't that dangerous though? Because by the time you get to that point where you hire a lawyer, you go to court, you're saying, listen, we're done. And then it takes a few days for you guys to say, you know what, isn't that risky because you've not addressed the root, of the reason why you wanted to divorce in the first place?
Yes, I think that's a very dangerous one because obviously, you see, why are you divorcing in the first place? Because it's not like what Mukadi said, I'm tired. I'm tired. And then someone started to spice up things. And perhaps now the affection and the love has come back. So if it has got to do with some really deep-seated issues.
I showed up in court with files of evidence.
With files of evidence, yes. And especially because, sometimes when we address divorce, we usually address the divorce. We don't address the issues that led to the divorce and the psychological, mental, emotional, financial issues that they did have. You find both men and women either were abused emotionally, financially, physically. Someone has been abusing you, and you see when it goes to things to do with disrespect. Someone disrespected you. Someone brought someone in. They have a child out of wedlock. Because usually, for me in social media, you say usually love to. Okay, maybe not laugh, but talk about people who are stepmothers in their own homes. You were married, then all of a sudden you have a stepchild from outside. You see, those are issues that as women, because as I can only speak from a woman's perspective, and understand that we don't forget. No, we don't. No matter how much we try to forgive you now, we are happy. 10 years later, we will remember. And then the insecurities that it brings about. So for me, I would be very careful. If someone went to therapy and both of them went to therapy and they sorted out the issues, it's not just something that it's a feel good, we have talked about it, maybe the finances and whatnot. Because chances are when you go back, things don't get better, people don't change, people usually go back to who they were. And then it becomes a back and forth, people are in and out. You remember back in the days where we'd have our mothers, they leave, you are left with your dad, then she comes back after 2 weeks, then she stays, then she goes, then comes back anajirudisha mwenyewe and so you see, because now that we are growing in these times, that sense of respect, self-respect, what it breeds on the other partner, because now you have shown you don't stand on business, you easily, like, can you imagine going through all of that process and then not having the spine to say, I made this decision and I'm willing to go with the consequences. And that is very dangerous, to show you that people don't think before they act. They just act, then they will think later. Oh, the consequences, oh my goodness, I filed for divorce, it's so bad, now let's go through the process then and do things. And that is very dangerous, because now you see the repercussions are usually, we see them in very many ways in society, how someone you met today, you get married tomorrow, and then 5 years later you come and tell us he was a narcissist.
You know what I'm thinking?
You never took time.
Quotes. What wakikuja? Just go through the process, alafu wambie sasa tumewapatia 2 years. Okay, go think about it. And then after 2 years, mkuje sasa mtuambie if you really want to go ahead with this or not. Can we go on a break? Alafu turudi tuone. Wakili is like,
I'm just like, really, you're going to make this harder.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
So you think about it. Watch out to the break, okay? And then when we come back, we'll still talk. There's so much to discuss on the other side. But even as we take that break, the question that we're asking you today, it is a bit of thinking, okay? When you think about
the
divorce,
question,
all right?
What defines?
What exactly?
What defines a successful relationship? Longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth?
Yes.
Please indulge us. From BNE NTV Kenya on all our social media platforms. We'll be checking your feedback after this very short break.
All right, welcome back. We are officially in the second hour of the show, so that tells you tunakaribia hivi kumaliza. There's so much that we need to cover as far as the conversation today, and this is we're redefining divorce and looking at it from a different perspective. And during the break, you know how I said the first time we were like, what? Wow. And then that is what's, still happened, and especially when it comes to the whole process about the divorce. And Wakili here is saying, ukishafika kwa hiyo point ya divorce, it means mume separate, like it's like the final. But what most of us think, Wakili, is that tunenda tuna file, alafu munatupe time, munatuambia kaini
go to a corner,
think about
then come back.
What you're about to do and then come back. But that's not the case. That's a myth.
Yeah, that's not the case.
Ebu sasa tuambie, tuna separate kwanza and then tuna divorce, ama tuafanya nini?
You see, divorce is it's used as a last resort.
Yes.
Okay, even before I explain the process, I told you that Kenya has one of the lowest divorce rates in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes.
Inversely, it actually has one of the highest separation rates.
Yes. Okay,
because
interesting.
Most couples actually opt to separate instead of divorcing, because the aftermath of the divorce can be brutal.
Okay. Sasa, this person who's separated without divorcing, because now I'm thinking, it's a lot of people. Can they get married? To another person. So you have to involve court. So court is
the bishop will tell you that's adultery.
You will say
it's against the law.
I will tell you it's called bigamy.
So if you're thinking it, don't listen. The question that we're asking you today: what defines a successful relationship? Longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? Isaac, is it Marial? Yes, on Facebook, Makur says it differs from community to community, culture and norms. Like in South Sudan, the Dinka tribe from the Lake State, the longevity of a relationship mostly depends on parents of the bride price, and good relationship of both parents, bride and bridegroom parents, okay? And then Kevin Miner says, the main reason for the separation is to foster peace and reconciliation. The reconciliation is aimed at creating a scenario where the individuals can reflect what we were talking about.
Yes.
On the devastation caused by the divorce, and from the actions exhibited, they can ponder the problems and also maintain peace in themselves. But you said divorce is the final.
Yes, it's I'll explain to the process again.
Okay, sawa. And then Sally Wanjiku says, success can be either or both. A relationship might be successful because it lasted with love and care, but a shorter relationship that ends respectfully, leaving both people better than they were before, is just as valid as success. Interesting. Willie Prince says, growth ndio kila kitu. So whether you're divorced or still in a relationship, growth ndio kila kitu. Vuvuzela wa Korowe, on Facebook says, trust other than faithfulness, though. Okay. Danny Trejo on Facebook says, imenishinda kizungu. Kizungu imekuwa mingi. Too many English. Too much English.
There's someone who says, Golariki says, true, what Bishop said, these days the church is showing more grace. Back then, divorce could get you sidelined kabisa. Now there's more understanding, but also, watu wamechukua freedom vibaya. Being liberal shouldn't mean being careless with marriage. Julius Marrera says, it's not failure, but being progressive, just as Moses did. He gave them divorce because of the hardness of their hearts. Na tumekotiwa na watu wawili. Matthew 19 imekotiwa. Kuna mwingine pia alikota Matthew, I think that's the one.
I said Matthew
the
19,
one that you quoted.
And Deuteronomy 24.
Matthew 19:9. Evelyn Shisia. You can divorce because of marital unfaithfulness. Kuna watu wali take up the challenge. Take up the challenge.
All right, and as we continue with the feedback, again, like I said, we're live, so you can call in and ask your question, contribute to the discussion, give us a story, if you have. But before that, so Wakili said, just to clarify, okay, on the entire process. It's not like you start with divorce and then munapewa room to we think about, whether you want this, and then the other person is given the same no. Divorce is final.
Yes.
Okay.
So but there will be some periods of time in between the proceedings where you can still, that's why they come with matching vitenges. You see, there's this time of exchanging documents. Like I file, then the other person has like 14 to 21 days. They file also. Then there's usually some correspondence. I file, you file, I file, you file. And then we are told that this matter is ready for the hearing.
Okay.
That sometimes can take 1 month or 2 months. And during that period, you have you have a chance to reconcile. Okay. And then you're given a hearing date. Now, unfortunately, our courts don't have the capacity to handle a lot of divorces. So sometimes you find that you're given a date probably 3 months from today. But it's not to give you a chance, it's because that's how their calendar is. You get it?
Okay.
So from the date of filing to the date of the hearing, it can take 5 to 6 months.
Okay.
And if indeed you guys had a chance of coming back together, you will come back
within that period.
Yes, during that period. I'd like to contribute on the breaking free part.
Yes.
I also, divorce is not just it can be people see it as the end of a good
thing.
Yes. But I usually think that divorce is actually the end. It's the end of a bad marriage, of a marriage which is not working. And it liberates a lot of people. I heard that in some countries they did research that the higher the divorce rates, the lower the suicides associated with domestic violence. So you find that it liberates the spouses, especially those who are in a toxic relationship. The second one, the children. I think a child you'd rather have a co-parenting agreement than a child observing you fighting every day. It's not in their best interest. And also financially speaking, the truth is sometimes your spouse is holding you back from progressing. They have taken loans, they have done this, so now you can't make your steps forward yourself. So you find that the only way to go ahead
is to break free.
Is to break free from them.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm staying for the kids. Or, you know, watoto watahangaika, watoto walikuwa mezoea a two-parent family, but sasa moja. And then, like, there's a lot of reasons why people stay.
And they opine that the younger the children, the better the time for divorce. Yes, I'll give the reason why.
Okay.
Because
that's new.
If a child, just think about it, if a child is between 10 to 15 years, they are really understanding what's happening. They have been in a household for the entire 15 years, seeing the two of you together. And then when you divorce, it breaks them more.
Really does,
But like a 3-year-old, that's the only thing they know is that I was raised up by two parents. One was living here, the other one was living. There's nothing abnormal to them. You get that perspective. Yes. So if you actually love your children more and you are in a really bad relationship, you are better off divorcing. Because after the divorce, if let's say your problem was money, the other parent can be compelled to be giving child support. You will have a visitation arrangements. There's a lot that comes after divorce. The divorce itself actually is not it's not hectic. The average time we conduct divorce is probably 6 months, 8 months.
6 months.
It's very quick.
Wow.
Interesting.
So if I was thinking of it, it's not time consuming.
There's no chance there. Bishop.
Someone can start the divorce today and be married by New Year. Yes. But
because the process is...
The problem is the aftermath, the property division, the children. You have 4 children. Some are toddlers, others are mature. The ones who are mature now, they also have to say which parent they want to stay with. You see, actually that's the other toll. Older children, the court asks them, who do you want to stay with?
Oh God, yes. So heri wakiwa wadogo tunawachukua kama mama yao.
No, there's usually marital presumption that the mother will take better care than them. But sometimes the court says, no, I think they are better off with
the dad.
Yes.
So there's no... Again, maybe in history, in this streets where they say if a child is below 18 years, according to the law, you atakuna titu na discuss ilikuwa ikaenda. No, they are with the mother.
It's known as marital presumption. A presumption is that at the first instance, they should go to the mother. But you see, a presumption can be rebutted. I can say that the mother is a drug addict. She has become a woman of the night. So,
so she has no capability.
Yes, she may not get enough time to
take care of the children. And this thing.
Or I own a 5-bedroom house. She's with this divorce.
I have a good job.
She has gone to a bedsitter. So oh yes, I have a good job.
But that good job can provide for money, send money
but
to
now,
mother of the child.
unfortunately, that might come to eat you.
Use your good job you provide.
Because she might be given the kids, but then you're told because now you have a good job.
You provide for the kids.
You provide.
Okay, so there's definitely a lot to think about. For those people who are like, I'll just up and go. There's a lot. There's a lot to think about.
And I think even going with the question and the topic for today, where we're talking about the stigma around, leaving and people start looking at you saying that maybe you failed in your marriage, you didn't put it together. And I mentioned the gender at the beginning and the role probably, Bishop Uneza to indulge, the role of the different genders and, the voices that speak to that and what divorce looks like for them when you look at the men and the women. How does it's not the same?
It's
really.
not the same.
It's not the same.
But I want to say it in a different way.
Okay.
Because back then, when there was a divorce, the woman was looked at as a failure.
Yes.
But now it goes either way, because the man could also be responsible, and therefore making the woman to break free from that institution. So now it's no longer stigmatized the way it was before. And I say that from where I stand as a bishop. We don't look at it anymore the same way, the way we looked before. A woman who was divorced, even she could not be given a mic to say even her names in church. But a man would be treated differently. A man would be looked at like You know, he wanted to provide, he wanted to be there, but this woman was irresponsible. And many times, men came out as the ones who wants the marriage, but the woman cannot keep up with what is required in that marriage. Like she's irresponsible, she's lazy, because men would go for those things.
Yeah.
Because many times when you're a Christian, it's very rare that you will hear that a woman was going out.
Yeah,
but they say you are dirty. Dirty, she's dirty. Yeah, she's very dirty.
Yes.
She can't cook. She can't take care of the children. She's not submissive to the man, and she has a high-tempered, and she's cruel.
Yeah.
In fact, what was looked at, and is still looked at even in court, if she's cruel or the man is cruel, then that is a basis for the marriage to be dissolved.
Yeah.
But right now, what I want to say is this. When we look at marriage, I want just to go to that question that I don't feel like we are answering it.
Yeah.
Both being, being in a marriage for a very long time is a success. And also when the marriage fails and you are able to go your separate ways and still co-parent and make decisions on what you own and how it will be divided. Maybe on your own, or even the court is involved. I think that is a success also.
Well.
So in that, whether you're in a long marriage that is very successful, or you have ended your short marriage or long marriage and with a lot of dignity, we respect you a lot, because there are no dramas, you can decide your issues, you can still meet in schools, during functions of your children. And I've seen that happen. There's a family I know, they do that. They will meet, they will talk, and their children are big. And sometimes they watch movies together. The man and the woman. They go out for that movie, they sit, but they never go back. Each one of them, the man is already settled with a marriage, and the woman is still, free, doing her business, but they even get money from one another. And many times I used to look at that relationship and say this was very successful. They were able to get their children. And when they could not cope, they decided to go their separate way with a lot of dignity. If you saw them, you wouldn't believe they are separate. But indeed they are separate. They can borrow each other's car. You find the wife with the husband's the father of the children, the ex-car. But what I normally wonder in this situation is what the other
I'm wondering the
person feels. What do they feel? But maybe they have been made to understand. And that is a success.
It really is. It doesn't always have to be like bad and ugly, and
or abusing each other. Oh, you're ugly. You don't talk to them. You shouldn't. The children should not go the other side. No. I think that is what we should drum up. When you cannot stay together, part in dignity. And continue to hold your responsibilities. Like if they are children, educate them well. If you have property, you can continue to be partners. In that property, you don't have to fight. Because more often than not, maybe you decided through this divorce time, one of you was hurt probably, but you agreed the way he said, that by the time you get to divorce, you have decided now this cannot work. There's something you said, these differences cannot be reversed.
Okay. There's the other side to it not being very successful, which happens more often than not. And I think, Nangami, I'm just going to rope you into this one. So this has happened. The divorce has happened. It was murky, it was ugly, we exchanged receipts. It's very unsuccessful. It is not in the question of the day-to-day, and it's probably a definite that it's over. Now, picking up that person again, picking up a life again from that, what some of the things that probably they need to look into or how do you build yourself up in terms of confidence, getting out there, understanding that probably you are not at fault, or even looking at divorce as a sense of freedom, and it's a beginning and it's growth.
And even if you are, at fault, forgiving yourself.
Forgiving yourself, absolutely.
And I think because usually the most important thing with anything is self-awareness. And self-awareness obviously will bring accountability, because I'm thinking when you go through such traumatic situation, I think it's easier when you don't have children, but then again, when you have children now, the thought of what could have been. There's always going to be regrets. Why did I do this? Da, da, da. There's going to be, and especially when saying it didn't work, it wasn't a successful divorce. So there's a lot of back and forth. The co-parenting is not working. It's more of a toxic co-parenting situation. He's not sending money on time. He's not sending school fees on time. So the emotional burden of it and the rest of it can really take a toll on someone. So accountability, usually the first place is to sit with yourself and analyze what happened and just accept the facts as they are. It didn't work. I did. And I usually think, especially when it comes to women, we don't really help with the conversation about accountability. We're not really good at taking accountability. We tell the stories that he did. And we don't sit and take accountability and take stock and say that I had a role to play. Even just as much as he's the person that I picked. You see, even having to come and say, of the very many people that I had, he's the father to my children. Perhaps previously you dated several people and he's the person you walked down the aisle and now you have children with, and accepting that that was one of the very many perhaps mistakes you did make, because there's certain divorces that you really look back and you're like, this was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have rushed into it. Now I got into it and children are involved. And therefore having to take account of that self-awareness, then obviously as she has said, forgive yourself for what has happened, because the past is in the past. And for me, usually I say I've made mistakes a lot in the past and I'm going to make still very many mistakes in future. So I'd rather just get on with the program and learn how to forgive myself.
Absolutely.
And because the earlier I get on with that, it becomes because sometimes women we have this ideal for perfection. We usually like perfect things to be perfect. That's why we're very indecisive. We don't make decisions really fast because we are scared of I have to know everything, have the right time, have all the right answers before I can make a decision. And sometimes also because we are afraid of the consequences of what would happen. So even just accepting the consequences of how things are, then it gives you an opportunity then to rise and to walk. And for me, usually I say, usually take time. Just take time and understand that I have failed. You see, it is not a matter of I failed, I have to get up, I have to go on, I have to figure out things. Take time and just understand that it is what it is, things have happened, let me process, because pain is supposed to be felt. It's not supposed to be avoided. So feel the pain, and because when you suppress pain, it will keep on coming up again anyway. So just feel the pain as much as you can.
So that you don't injure people in the...
You don't bleed on others.
Yes, go to therapy as much as you can, cry. If you have friends like Mikali or you or even Bishop, call them every day and talk about it. And the thing about women is that we have community. So you see, I don't know about men, but you see, I was saying this even in my life the other time. If he was my friend and a guy has broken my heart, and then I tell him today and tomorrow, he'd be like, hey, Nangami bana, move on. Like, why haven't you forgotten? Like, he's very quick to move on. But I can tell Bishop this a year later, and we'll be talking as if it happened.
We'll come back to him to understand processing. How do you deal with it?
So for us, we can go through that and go, and so having to go through that and going through the emotional states of it allows you to heal. Then once you have healed, then begin to build the process step by step. You don't have to understand the 1,000 steps, but just the next step. What am I supposed to do? Because for most women, it's now you go rebound. Before you know it,
I'm in a dilemma. The world is over.
Last year, today, they're already pregnant for someone else. And you just things become worse.
By the day.
Things becomes just bad.
Oh,
so just taking the time.
They become
breaks because the reality. Listen, we're going on a break. Mukali is like, fire. Okay? And then when we come back, now we'd address, the whole aspect about the possibility of, yes, divorcing amicably, and then the work, putting in the work after which Nangami has alluded to, but legally, okay? So that you don't go around bad-mouthing, your spouse and telling your kids, working together to protect this institution called the family.
Divorced and
sued later. All this drama. How do you move past it and finding yourself again, all right? And all that is coming up after the break. So stay with us. The show is your world.
Welcome back to your world. There's a show going on, by the way, guys. We're trying to rope everything that we're talking about during the break because it's never ending. And we're talking about divorce today. Is it breaking free you're looking at it as those ones for it's a failure. How are you looking at it? We've talked about so many things, what marriage looks like, what it's about, and the divorce process and all of that. Tumefika at the end, like Queenie said, what happens after that? How do we pick ourselves up? And I think Nangami brought out a very, very interesting perspective where how women and men react or behave afterwards.
After divorce, yeah.
Different kidogo.
It's very different,
very different. So we're going to delve more into that, but we have a question for you.
Yes, the question is, what defines a successful relationship? Is it the longevity or the ability to part with dignity and growth? Someone here says, this is on YouTube Live. Peter Kariuki says, Bishop Grace, looking amazing as always. Hi, Bishop. Hey.
That is who?
Peter Kariuki. Bishop. Okay. Hi, Peter Kariuki. Someone here, this is Prime Feliz, says, #YourWorld and TV. I believe that respect is a good ingredient, but what I have learned over the past is the power of flexibility and some bit of compromise. Change is inevitable and rigidity is not good. Where? We are metupatia points, points.
Yep.
But again, so this is on YouTube Live. We're continuing to sample on Facebook and on X as well.
Kuna mtu anasema hapa
nini?
Tunasoma zote. Tunasoma.
Yes.
You're worried.
I'm scared.
I can sense you're worried. Ibrahim Karanja says.
Ibrahim Karanja wa huku?
No.
Oh, okay.
Only Facebook.
Okay.
Wonder why God decided to introduce women to this world. Because that's where the problems, the troubles began. I was like, surely.
Can you imagine a world without women?
Surely.
Bishop, Bishop Nigani. Bishop, angalia kamera yako, ulize swali tena for the people at the back.
Can you imagine a world without women? The laughter, the cooking,
the beauty,
you know, the configuration, you know, the smile, you know, and they are dramas too. They are dramas too.
So a little drama is good. Just a little. Okay, so moving forward, right?
Yes.
After divorce, because, and I think we discussed this earlier on where we asked, can a divorce ever be amicable? And we said, yes, listen, there's that possibility.
Yes.
All good, no drama, no nini, watch out to co-parent if we have kids. If you don't have kids, everybody, you know, goes their way and that's it. But then again, so life after divorce, how do you pick up yourself? Because I've had some people say, me, after what I went through, I am never getting into that marriage again. And others who are hopeful romantics like me are like, you know what, yes, there's
someone for me somewhere.
There's someone out there.
Yeah. Why don't you get into it? We see you there.
Yeah, but really finding self. Bishop, I know Nangami alluded to this earlier on and said, take time, heal, sometimes accept, you know, that you failed. Yeah. But yes, what is it that you'd advise someone who is maybe going through the process or has gone through the process and feel lost? Because you're so used to being with someone.
I think I will address breakup and breaking free.
Okay.
Yes.
When you're in marriage and you are really into it and things were working very well, and one of the partners maybe felt that this is not working, then that we call a breakup.
Okay.
As much as we thought maybe would define that breakups are only in relationships and divorce or breaking free maybe is in a marriage, but in a marriage also there is breaking up, where you break up, you talk, and you feel now it will not work, and therefore there is a breakup. As our Akili said, a breaking free is coming out of something that you feel both of you maybe was not working, or one of you feels. So it's the person who decides to go that breaks away.
Okay.
You know, but breakup is where you discuss and see, oh, it can't work. One of you may be hurt, both of you may be hurt, you may cry and what have you. But what I want to say, after divorce,
yes,
there are many things that happen. There are those who continue to co-parent well, but I've also witnessed a situation where some are so hurt, irreversibly hurt, that they continue to carry that issue they continue to follow the person that divorced them. They continue to, like, what would we say, following without, you know, you monitor them wherever they are, spoil for them. Maybe they want to get married to somebody else. You talk about them in a bad way. You write letters, you send people even to follow them, because that one has happened. And that can be a very toxic situation. And that, I think it has ended up even people killing one another. You've sent people to kill this person because you cannot stand seeing them if they are not in your life. And I think there, Bwana Wakili, as much as we have a divorce going on in court and what have you, it's always good to advise the clients to also look for therapists. Because after that, you never tell what can happen. Some even kill their children. You know, if it's a woman, they decide, you know, you'll never see these children. Together with me, I'm killing them. The man may also decide the same, to kill the children and kill you so that you don't even exist. So I think there is a lot of work to be done even when divorce is going on, to talk to these people, maybe the pastors like myself, the counselors, the therapists, people like Nangami, who will, maybe I've called her, you know, you know, a women rep before. In Transoya County. I think I'm praying for you for good things. Yes. So I think it's good to talk to these people. Like I've just discussed off camera, there's somebody I kept talking to because I could see she was going the wrong direction. Distraction, you know, destroying this, destroying the other, destroying. There's also a situation where I saw after divorce, a woman kept the children away from the man. And whenever the man now got permission to see the child in school, she transferred those children from that school. So by the time the children finished school, they had gone to almost 13 different schools.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So you can imagine what it did to those kids. So the aftermath can be toxic, can also be very nice depending on how the situation is, it is handled, maybe interventions that have been done. And I think interventions are very key.
It's important.
We should not assume at all.
You know, most of the time we usually talk about before you get to that level of divorce, seek a counselor, you know, try work it out. But we forget that even after divorce, there's still so much work to be done.
Even as you walk through the divorce, you need a counselor. I've gone to court. He said sometimes people are not allowed, but I was allowed in 2 situations. One, the man was divorcing. Another one, the woman was divorcing the man. And for very trivial reasons. Because he was not there, he works for what you call desertion. But she was so set. I don't want this person, not because she was getting into another relationship. But one thing that I'll say, I know our time is gone. I feel very bad when somebody divorces another because they found some other love. I find that so wrong because there was no loyalty. There was no, you got into something that you are not committed to. Therefore, now you have seen another person and you feel this one is not good enough. I can assure you, just like we've seen in other countries, you will end up even with 7 marriages.
Because it's like you're not chasing a high.
So you should, I would rather such a person stays without marriage and just has a partner. Not getting into that institution of marriage because they are breaking it down, you know, making it look so awful.
Causing hurt everywhere you go. So Wakili. So we have divorced. Okay? Tumebaliza your process. And then bibi nimeenda nika-heal, my ex amenda aka-heal. Alafu tunarudi soko vile Bishop anasema soko chafu sana. Sasa tunaangaliana tunasema si tulikuwa tunapendana. Si tumehio. Si
that line is famous.
So is there a possibility that we can sort of like remarry and what does the law say about that? Is it a possibility?
Yes, sure, you can get remarried to the same person.
So is that considered like a fresh marriage?
Yes, but you see now this new marriage certificate will be written divorcee. You see, the first time you get married, it's written bachelor, spinster.
Oh, it is.
But now this second time,
the divorcee.
So there's no such thing as working the clean slate. You have records.
And I think actually you never know that second marriage might work because you have learned through the process. But now let me go about the aftermath. First of all, I'd like to say that actually most of the divorces I've seen are actually the good ones, which Bishop is saying.
Okay.
It's the one where both of you are in total agreement that we are not good for
each other.
Yes, for each other.
Yeah.
The very contentious ones, they are actually one in about 100 or 50. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, a divorce lawyer's job is usually quite easy because of that specific reason, whereby I think people are maturing up. You realize that we don't need to go and tell people.
We don't need all the drama.
Yes. Even during the hearings, you just go and say that whatever I instead of repeating everything word for word, you just say whatever I said in the documents. That's what I want the court to consider.
Okay.
We don't cross-examine each other, and sometimes it's actually the spouse who calls the other person, tells them, get into court, it's our matter has been called out. They are very
cordial.
Yes. Now the aftermath is what is usually dangerous, because now you're speaking about property.
Yeah.
Children. You see, there are 3 categories of property.
Okay.
In this situation, there's what I had, there's what you had, and there's what we have gotten
together.
Yes, during the pendency of the marriage. And now let's say you inherited something during the pendency of the marriage. Now, how do you treat it? Do you treat it as mine, or do you treat it as ours? Because
I inherited it from my folks.
Yes.
Right? During my dad.
of the marriage.
When we were married. So
Yeah, when my father. But when you were married.
That's property we have acquired
Together.
during the marriage.
So it becomes yours.
It is mine.
No, both of you.
Ours.
And I think one thing which, and I know Kenyans treat this as with fear, it's about a prenup.
Yeah.
We don't want it.
This is what I usually ask. I usually ask myself, and sometimes I've asked people.
Yeah.
When you're getting into a big contract, even when you go to NTV, anytime you're getting into something big, you write
Sign a contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, here you're getting into a permanent contract, like which will affect you for life, and you don't really want to discuss about property before. I don't know why people treat marriage with such triviality.
Maybe it's a thing that was in
No, you just speak to your spouse. You tell them, I want us to stay together till death.
Yeah.
But probably one day we might break up.
Yeah.
Now, in case we break up, you usually ask,
How
actually
do
from
you
a point of concern, how do you want me to take care of you? You see, it's how you bring it up.
It's how you say it, not what you say. It's how you say it.
Yes. How do you want me to take care of you?
Yes, how do you want me to take care of you?
Yeah.
And that's when you say, I think this house, because I'm the one who bought it, I think I'm the one who deserves to stay in it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a way you can put it. You see the problem when you mention prenup, someone is thinking, this one is getting to the marriage to break up.
Yes.
No, but you're just saying you
But it's
want
good to talk about it.
Talk about it.
Yes.
Before.
Yes, you tell them probably one of us might die. That's when you even speak about life insurances.
Yes.
You bring them in a...
You know, in a cultural context, you don't call those things. You know, if you start speaking about death, itakuja. If you start talking about divorce, itakuja. But no, really, talk about this thing.
But no, here's the funny thing. You know, prenups are actually a deterrent to divorce. I know some prenups have an expiry date, but you say that this prenup is if we divorce within 15 years.
Okay.
So I've seen people who in those 15 years, they'll stay together. And then after the prenup expires, they divorce. So that now the law itself says who goes with what. Okay, now one is about property. The good thing right now is that you get what you contributed. You don't really have to share everything halfway. The second thing is the children. Sometimes you find that the spouses weaponize children against the other one. So you find that you start feeding them with, your mom is this way, your dad is this way. So you have continued with the toxic relationship post the divorce. And I think what you've said about speaking to therapists, I think it should actually be written as a court order. You see what the magistrates do, usually say that these children to be taken to a counselor or a psychologist on this person's cost. But I think they should also say that even the parents, because these children, they have gone to the counselor, but they are still coming back
to the same toxicity.
Yes. So those are usually the two big things: property
and children.
And children.
Okay. Why? Nangami. It's important.
It's important.
Yeah.
For me, I'm all for it because you see, we are past that phase, that period. Yeah, you're thinking you're so special, it can't happen to you. Because usually we have this idea that it's so special. Ours is different.
I mean,
we will stay for 30 years, we will stay for forever, and then it will not happen to us. And then it also comes from a level of naivety. I think it's the bishop, is it the lawyer who said, my future me will love the future you. So, and especially those who are young, you get married, and then people change, things change, tastes change. Towards the end, perhaps I'm the one who came in with, I wasn't making much. And then now, as time goes by, I'm earning more than he is. And now I feel like I should have protected my things. I should have, and he's no longer interesting me. Because you see, we have to be very realistic with life. Sometimes we want to cover up and be very superficial. I would love you for forever, till things come. Or you see, sometimes it could be that, you see, Nangami Venyanaka, she's very, we're an African queen, plain Jane.
African queen.
Character development. And you didn't expect it, and then you didn't protect yourself. And now we are there fighting it out. So I think just having to understand that it is nice to protect yourself, the way we protect our property, the way we make sure that everything has been covered. That usually is nice. And I think accepting things as they are. Yeah. Because as I have always said, we live in the world as we hope it to be, not as it is. Because we're supposed to live in this world as it is. We hope for a better world. We hope for a world where people would not divorce, we would not have dysfunctional homes, where if you're heartbroken, you just part ways and people go their separate ways, but it always doesn't happen like so. So I think having foresight usually is very important. And I think situational awareness, understand the situation and, protect yourself accordingly and the property.
I mean, listen, I really get what you're saying, because most of the time, I was different. No, anything can happen, okay? So have these conversations. Now, so there's some people who, I mean, tumekosana, and especially in the public eye, and I'm just gonna say, like, size 8, for example. Size 8 reborn. So we know what happened. We don't know the nitty-gritties of their relationship, but based on what has been put out there, they reconciled, and then they did another. Is it renewal? Wedding. Just say wedding. It's a wedding, okay? It's a wedding. And just the other day, I came across this, where she says, "Listen, I am not happy, okay? I am no longer happy in my marriage. The cheating even continued, after we renewed. So kuna hope, Pasi?
Oh my God, it is really there. For me, I want to say, as a bishop as I am, if I was not happy, I would just walk out. Okay. If I was not happy or I cannot work, let me say this, marriage is work.
It is work.
Yes. Marriage is work, and it has to come from both sides. But if you get to a point where you feel, my God, I'm not happy, I think that should also be a basis. Because Wakili said it's the fault. But not being happy is also another fault. You can't live all your life feeling depressed, feeling annoyed, feeling all these things, because at the end of it all, you lose your life. Even if you are not to lose that time, depression can lead you to that. Insanity can lead, and that's what I feel about myself. I feel, one, if it's not for the grace of God, and number two, the other person being kind to me, that's not a place I can stay. I can't stay in a toxic environment. That one is a no-no, and that is the standard that I set, and I'm not going to compromise on that. I will just walk out. And Wakili said something, when you come into marriage, is the two of you excluding others. We have seen very toxic in-laws that, you're in this marriage, and they are also there. Foot, mouth, and everything. I say foot, mouth, and because they bring themselves, they talk there. So I think when such a relationship allows in-laws to begin doing that, then it's good for the two of you to call each other and sit. And if it cannot work, you part ways. Because now you are not only two. but there are third parties that will be directing what should be done, when you should eat, how you should invest, and what you should handle, and what have you. There's something Bwana Wakili has said about property.
All right. Can we take that as your parting shot, Bishop?
Okay.
Because no, just like finish it in like 30 seconds. What Wakili was saying. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What Wakili was saying about property, I'm very passionate about that. I got into a marriage where somebody had a first marriage. I did not interfere with what he had. But what we have gotten together, I also don't want interference. And I'm doing everything to make sure that it is the two of us and our children, that nobody out there will come and put their mouth there. And that is important, to always do that. Make sure your documents are right. Make sure your marriage is registered. Make sure that company, you have shares there that nobody else will come and start claiming. Because a lot of families are in court after one of the spouses is gone because of being careless when they are acquiring property. Let your eyes also be know what you're acquiring. I'm not talking about being materialistic, but what you get, that share, know how you'll handle it, even after the other person is not there, or you yourself, if you're not there, how will the other person handle it? And how will the children be connected to this? Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Bishop. Thank you. That was good. Wakili, we'll take your parting shot as well in like 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. This conversation, of course, we cannot end it here, but I'd like to say there's hope, even for those who are married, that they can work on their marriages. At least even as a Christian, you should have hope, especially as a man, that he who finds a wife, you find a good thing. It's not all doom and gloom. I've seen people getting married, divorcing, and their second marriage working. But if you are at that point of no return where that you have no choice but to divorce, I would actually encourage you to do it. And of course, now with the help of the support system, your family, your pastor, your psychologist, probably they will make the process easier for you, manageable for you.
Okay, it's not all doom and gloom. Okay.
Can I throw in a little something for the Wakili? Yeah, the cost of divorce.
Yes.
You said it's high. How much are we talking? Is it the same? Is it kutaka kudivorce ndio bei?
Ndio bei. Na hakuna kunegotiate.
Does it depend on the lawyer?
Another myth was 500,000.
Okay. Now, here's the funny thing about our profession.
Yes.
What they set is the floor. What you cannot charge below.
Okay, so what is that?
They don't set the ceiling.
They set the floor.
Yes.
What is the floor?
I think it's 50,000 or something.
Oh, it's 50,000.
But no lawyer will charge you 50.
Yeah, of course.
But that's the around the rate in the advocate's remuneration order.
Okay.
Yes.
And just to clarify, actually,
clarification. It's okay.
Who pays?
Yes.
Who pays this fee?
The one who initiates.
The one who initiates. So you've cheated, you've hurt me, and then I want a divorce, and then I can't pay.
He's the reasoning behind it. You initiate the divorce, you pay your lawyer. It means I'll also defend myself and I'll pay
your lawyer.
You handle your costs.
Okay.
Yes.
If I don't defend myself,
even better, because it means the divorce will be faster. Yes, and he will pay. The one who initiates pays their own.
Their own lawyer.
Yes.
Okay. Kunanga set in a divorce fee.
Yes.
Inaonga tu kulipa lawyer. It's not like a divorce fee.
You see, like there are a few costs here and there. There's a quantity, but they are negligible.
Okay.
I think that's why I've told you no one will charge you really like that amount.
Okay.
Because they will factor in some other things,
other costs,
like service. You see, I'm also probably you don't have an email, you don't have WhatsApp. So probably I'm having to send someone physically with documents to your
server.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, wait. Lest you forget. Nangami. Tufungie show sasa tuone nyumbani.
Even just on the final question that you had asked about, you see someone going back, and I think there are people who are married to the idea of marriage. Like for them, being married is the most important thing than the functionality of the marriage, of what it is. And then two, for me, it's just, stop having this God complex that you can save people. You can save someone, you can try to change change them, you can try to change the situation. And that's why for me, I usually advocate self-mastery, work on yourself, because when you work on yourself, you work on your respect, you work on your boundaries. It's very easy for you to then have irreducible minimums, because people need to have irreducible minimums. You come to this until here, no further. So then it becomes like, if you ever do this, it's a point of no return. Then it also allows people, because I know that the people who learn through consequences, and if you can't show them that they can suffer some consequences, people will just keep on pushing the boundaries and keep pushing your boundaries. And I think it is very unfortunate that in 2025, you can have, especially for me, well-educated women doing well, even, CEOs of companies, and then talking about how I was with a narcissist for 10 years. I'm like, sometimes I just lose empathy. I just lack empathy. I'm just like, you participated in your own oppression. Because how can you talk about with all the capacity you have, the brain, and then someone took advantage of you for 10 years? Just say you didn't have the stamina, you didn't have the spine to leave when the time was right. And sometimes people leave not because they wanted to, it's because they have failed to save what they wanted to save. They've always wanted to save it, and they've realized there's nothing they can do. But if they had something to do, something would have been done, they keep on doing it. And that's a God complex. You shouldn't have it.
You can't save it. Wait, Nangami, wait.
20 seconds.
She said that you participate in your own oppression. It's interesting. Some of the people who are in their marriages, it's actually, you've heard of Stockholm Syndrome? Yes, most of them, it's a classical
Stockholm. Okay.
Wait, watch out. Listen, thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much for coming by today. And thank you for staying with us until the end of the show. Maybe the thing that I'm, getting away from the conversation is, ask yourself, your future self can love
the future of your spouse.
Ask yourself that, and then ukishapata answer, utajua what to do. Okay. Goodbye. My name is Vinili Bembe. See you tomorrow.
I am Wkaira Mary. See you guys.
Okay. Bye.